Hello everyone, this is Babamots. Welcome to some more Homeworlds commentary. This time I've got Crit1Calends and mstain. I was looking over games that I'd cast recently and realized that I hadn't done a cast of either one of these players since September. So here comes. Let's see how they stack up against each other. I think of both of them as being pretty good. Um, Crit going first has a yellow banker. mstain has a red Goldilocks. Crit trades for red right away. mstain trades for yellow. Those are the colors of the small stars, so they're both equally close to pressing into the mediums. Crit finishes off the small reds. mstain finishes off the small yellows. mstain, no, so Crit moves out to a large yellow system. mstain builds an additional ship, a medium this time, before leaving. Crit gets that medium red. Does mstain move out now? No, they're going to trade out for a medium red so they don't get left out of the red economy. Crit, in parallel fashion, trades for a Y2. mstain now gets a Y2, and Crit takes a Y2 as well, so that cleans out the medium yellows. A little bit of an imbalance now, so the larges are opened up, but nobody's got room for them. Does mstain spread out? Yes, they do. Crit, oh, not bothering to block or spread out. That looks to me like Crit might lose out on a large ship they might get otherwise. Yeah, mstain gets the Y3. Now Crit moves out. So this is something I mostly see with newer players. They're sometimes one turn too slow to spread out and give themselves an opportunity to build a large ship that's about to become available. Um, but it looks to me like Crit was just too slow on this. They spent their last turn building an R2. I mean, which is not a bad thing. It's good to have more red ships, and medium is pretty good, but large is better. And now if I'm mstain, I'm either going to discover that Y3 as a star, or at least trade out one of my smalls, maybe for a blue, to keep that Y3 out of range. Yeah, so Crit got left behind that way. Let's see if they... I think of them as being at a deficit now. Let's see if they manage to recover. They also trade out for a blue. mstain moves their little blue forward. Crit builds more red. Interesting. So this might work out pretty well for Crit. If they can keep a nice tight hold on the reds, well, not that they have a hold exactly, but if mstain doesn't get around to spreading out their reds and then building more, Crit's willingness to take them might serve them very well. mstain now, okay, moving into a position where they have room to build red, but they haven't got green. They shouldn't sacrifice that G3 for the green, I don't think. All right, let's see where this goes. Yeah, that's an odd move because it doesn't give them anywhere to build. It doesn't give them a way to build. Maybe they'll build a small green later and use that to build. We'll see. Okay, Crit, I think doing... This is an approach that I have long recommended, that if you've got a material disadvantage, mstain has a flagship that can roam, a large ship that can threaten these colonies. So Crit is keeping their ships spread out so that there's just one ship at each system, and these are all systems where the ship could run away if that flagship decides to invade. So that's, I think of that as being quite a healthy thing for Crit to be doing while they're down a large ship. Okay, mstain takes a G1. Crit also builds a green. mstain takes another blue. Now, Crit is going to want to look out here because these two blues, one of them could be moved into Crit's home and the other brought into striking distance in one shot. And while Crit has that blue there, it's sort of endangering the blue star. Let's see if Crit responds to that, or They might be hoping for something like a shopping spree, sacrifice the G3 and build most of the red. Ah, okay, taking that last G3, taking one of the G3s out, sorry, taking one of the R3s out of the bank. So now this has problems. Uh, it could be threatened by a medium or the large, and it doesn't have a way to run away so well. But if mstain does not bother it, then it could even become an investment sometime down the road. And even if mstain does threaten this G1, Crit can sacrifice the G3 to shopping spree the rest of these guys and come up ahead by another large ship. And mstain then will be kind of hurting because they'll only have the one red ship. Let's see if mstain does something about this. Okay, they take another red out of the bank so that Crit's shopping spree won't be so profitable. I think if I was Crit, I would still... Yeah, I think I would still do the shopping spree just because it leaves mstain with only one red ship, and that can be a pretty painful place to be. Okay, we got reds, and what do they pick for their final color? Do they build the another green? Maybe a yellow in this colony? Thinking about other options. Just moving out the blue. Okay. Sacrificing the G1 to build a yellow? Okay, okay. Putting that R3 back in the bank. Hoping for the better shopping spree, but there's nothing stopping mstain from just discovering another R3 star. Sacrificing Y2 to move off of that R3 star and discover a G1 star? Okay, that spreads out their blues, making blue builds very attractive. Interesting. And if I didn't say it already, putting that R3 back in the bank so that, again, if Crit tries the shopping spree, there will be an R3 remaining. This is the kind of economic play that is so interesting in this game because you obviously you want the bank to be in a certain state on your turn, and you're spending resources in this case, mstain sacrificing a ship, losing an actual ship to try to rearrange things so that the bank is in their favor, so that blue is available for a very profitable build and the red is not, because that's what suits them. That's if I mentioned lately that I like Homeworlds, this is a really interesting game. Okay, so Crit would prefer that mstain not get both of those B3s, but anywhere that Crit moves that B1, mstain could invade with the Y3. Let's see, so Crit looking at just taking the red shopping spree. Yeah, I think that's probably the best answer. So mstain, that leaves mstain with the opportunity to build the R3. They'll sacrifice a G1 to do it. But Crit could, for example, sacrifice this Y2 to move two reds into that colony to blow up the red that mstain just built. And then Crit and mstain would have the same number of large ships, which is better than Crit was at a minute ago. Yeah, so mstain takes the build. Does Crit do the overpopulation? No. Okay, so spreading out the yellows makes this colony, again, an unattractive target for an invader. Although, this doesn't seem like a great place to go, though, because mstain, I would expect, is hoping to build a B3, and you might as well do it in the place where it'll threaten the guy that just invaded you. Ooh, that's even worse. Invading with the red means that the red can't withdraw, And if mstain builds the b3 and then gets to capture that r2, then mstain won't even be losing out on their red material, which is, I think, of one of mstain's relative vulnerabilities here is that they've only got 2 red ships. But if they sacrifice a red to capture a red, then it's not so bad. Yeah, I don't like that move too much from Crit. Yeah, mstain builds the b3, which is what I would have expected. And now, okay, Crit sacrificing a y2. Oh, what does that get them? Okay, well, okay, doing that overpopulation. Oh, okay. Doing the overpopulation now. Interesting. Um, yeah, it's too bad they didn't do that before. Because I think, yeah, it would have put that B2 back in the bank, and mstain couldn't have built the B3. Um, yeah, I think Crit would have been a lot better off doing that overpopulation a turn earlier. All right, mstain now has no red ships anywhere. Let's see what they decide to do. Trade a blue for a red. Okay. Now, so that's interesting. mstain only has 1 red ship. They could do something. So Crit could capture this little blue and try to overpopulate the B3. I don't think that would work out though. Um, yeah, but I think Crit definitely doesn't want to leave this opportunity for mstain to upgrade from an R1 to an R2 on the board. Crit might even want to just sacrifice that R2 to do nothing. The B1 sacrifice to trade this for blue is pretty interesting. Oh, not so interesting. I was thinking somehow that Crit would still have that B1 and could overpopulate the 3 blues that were left in the Bleb colony after sacrificing it to trade for B1, but that's not the case. Um, but yeah, I very much expect mstain to capture whatever color ship this is on their next turn here. Unless Crit sacrifices to pull it out. Trade for blue. Oh, I don't like that very much. Crit, that leaves Crit with no blue. mstain will be left with no red. Well, oh no, unless of course they they trade for red right now. Um, yeah, so Crit's trading it for blue didn't really solve the problem here. They just changed to a different problem. mstain. Oh no, let's see what's happening here. Crit sacrificed the. Oh, they sacrificed that blue 2 for some trades. Traded for some blue and traded for some green. Okay, that looks in some ways like a healthier position for Crit. They've got a greater variety of color now. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. It keeps it from getting captured anyway. It's a pretty good development move for Crit, just getting more colors. But of course, mstain in the meantime has had some time to develop. They've got 2 red ships now, which is nice. Okay, yeah, fairly even. I think I would still say mstain's ahead since they have 1 large ship more than Crit does. mstain getting to build a yellow, medium yellow here. Crit could build a medium yellow, but it would. But then that would be a good target for invasion from mstain. So maybe don't want to build that. Okay. Well, I mean not a fantastic target, I suppose. But mstain could sacrifice y1 to move in the r3. They wouldn't want to just move in their y3 since it could be overpopulated. Okay, mstain's spreading out to give themselves more room to build that y3. So moves of this kind are interesting because sometimes they're really great and sometimes they're quite weak. I don't think this is a good time for it. Because the threat that normally this would have is that if mstain didn't, if this was the only place that mstain could safely build that Y3, then Crit could blow it up, which could be pretty good. But mstain can build it back here at home, so this little yellow really has no threat, and I don't think Crit is going to be happy with that move if they make it. Okay, that's better. Get that Y3 out of the bank. That's a little unpleasant just because now this red can't build. mstain, not going to invade right now, just builds a blue. Okay. I keep looking at Crit's situation and thinking that Crit has no red at all. This red is so far over to the right that something in my head makes me think that it's mstain's, because mstain's things are on the right, but no. Okay, Crit is okay because they do have a red ship. Just the one though. It would be better for them to get another one at some point. Building green, the old standby. If you haven't got anything else to do, build a ship. And mstain building a red. One thing that I'm feeling here is that mstain's material advantage, having more large ships, is putting pressure on Crit to keep their ships at home and only spread out one at a time. They're spending a fair amount of time moving ships, building ships at home, and then moving them to colonies here. mstain has the luxury of building those ships out here in a colony that will save them time later down the road, and I think is slowly turning into an advantage that Crit's going to have a hard time beating. Yeah, it's also making it harder for Crit to build the colors that they would like to be building. They can't build yellow because they'd lose their star. They can only build green and then trade it for other things and then move it out. And then they can't build at these colonies out here because these are the stars that they're trying to occupy to keep mstain from getting to build them as big ships. Yeah, tough spot for Crit. Sacrifice the G1. Yeah, so even if you build a G1 and then sacrifice it to build, you it's taking you twice as long to build anything as it takes your opponent. Ooh, there's an option I really don't like. Moving the B3 to a new colony. I see no good in that at all. It puts a Y3 back in the bank that mstain will be very happy to build in either of two places. And that B3 is now immobile. It can only go to defend one of these guys with a sacrifice. I don't like that much. Great thing about moving out the Y. Let's skip ahead to what they decide on. Moving the green to Juppel. That makes this a pretty healthy colony. I like that. But that also means it's a good target for invasion. By the yellow or the red. mstain going to ignore that for the time being. Okay, does Crit now build an R2 there? They do. They're thinking about it. Yeah, they do. They commit. That makes it really quite a good target for the yellow to invade. mstain, of course, doesn't want to build either of these. Doesn't want to build an R3 in either of these colonies because it would get overpopulated. But yeah, I think mstain should either spread out so they can build these R3s or just invade the colony. That would be just fine. Sacrificing Y2. Oh. To move 2 reds in? I mean, that's an interesting idea. Crit would be down to no red ships at all. And anything they trade for a red ship is going to be the last ship of that color. in its system. Yeah, that's a stronger move from mstain than I think that's better than my suggestions even. It's a roughly even material exchange, but crit's far enough behind that it's going to hurt crit pretty bad. Oh, interesting. Sacrificing Y3. Oh, yeah. Okay, so knock out all of crit's red and move this red into Europ, threatening to capture their B3. So now crit absolutely must get red this turn because otherwise, I mean, their homeworld could be invaded by a large. So crit's got to get red, and whether they trade this B3 for red or not, mstain's going to capture it. So that I think is the killing blow from mstain. I think crit may flail around for a little while, but is effectively dead at this point. Yeah, sacrificing the B3 to trade for some red. Yeah, it does keep it from getting captured, but mstain's the only one with a spare large again, and mstain's got so much more material that it's looking pretty good. Crit, I think, found about the best way to proceed that they could, though. Keeping that B3, sacrificing the B3 to keep it from getting captured and getting red in the same move. Probably about the best you could ask for. mstain, though, sacrificing the G3 to clean out the yellow bank. Crit's only got one yellow ship. That's going to be hard to deal with. Moving a little red in there. Let's fast forward to the decision. Building the B2, that's the biggest ship they could build. That's probably about the best they can do, but I mean, mstain should probably be happy sacrificing the Y2 to knock out those two blues of crit, because that'll put crit down to just 4 ships. Very harsh. Oh, or sacrifice the Y2 to bring the red over, threatening to capture whatever can't escape. Crit just gets rid of a Y2 all on their own, sacrificing it to save the blues. Let's see if they commit to that. Oh, trading for a red. Sacrificing the blue to trade for 2 reds. I think with the idea that they're going to overpopulate that large. That's interesting, because mstain can sacrifice the R2 to capture both of them, but then crit could move in the R2 to blow them up. That leaves crit with almost nothing, but it does get that large off the table. That's interesting. Well, I guess it would still be on the table because it's in the bank and the bank's on the table, but you know what I mean. Okay, building an R3. Does crit build an R3 to... builds it at home to try to hang on to that large ship rather than building it in the colony where it would just overpopulate. That's... I wonder... I wonder if crit could somehow find a way back into this that way. So what does mstain do? Sacrifice the B1 to trade for yellow. Okay. Yeah, so now crit can't overpopulate these folks. And crit doesn't have a good way to build more red. Oh, they can build it in the colony, preparing to overpopulate, I guess. mstain can... Yeah. Oh, gee. This is turning out better for crit than I expected. So from here, mstain can sacrifice R2 to capture 2 of these. That's probably their best move, actually. Don't want to sacrifice the R3 to capture all 3 because crit will blow them up. Yeah. So mstain's considering both options. I think capturing just 2 is better because they're going to blow up. You'd rather be left with an R3 back here than an R2. Although this way, Crit can build the R2. Well, I guess they were going to be able to build into the overpopulation either way. Oh, sacrificing the G3? I don't think that's going to work out. That would leave Crit with nothing but red. And they're sacrificing a large ship right at a time when they don't need to be. No, Crit, I feel pretty strongly that Crit should do an ordinary, non-sacrifice build to make that overpopulation happen. Yeah, that's better for sure. Wow. Okay. All right, Crit. Well, I don't know if you watch these videos at all, but if you do, I think you've done a great job of coming back into this with some pretty gutsy moves. All right. I think mstain's still got a big advantage, but less than I would have expected this many moves later. Okay. mstain taking some more yellow. Yellow is something that Crit does not have. Does Crit trade for a yellow? That's just barely safe, I think. Well, I guess mstain could blow up Crit's yellow star by sacrificing the Y3 to move both of these guys in, but they'd lose 2 larges to do it. Probably not actually worth it at this point. So safe build, but just barely. Okay, Crit has a yellow ship now, spreading it somewhere safer. mstain gets the last of the yellow. Okay. What can Crit do now? Building green. The old standby. I think... Yeah, the green is nice. mstain doesn't have any green ships anywhere, so Crit might be able to make something happen with this. Blue might be worried about getting left behind in the blues, but yeah, I guess that's okay. I was going to say something about if mstain sacrificed Y3, they could bring one blue to Crit's home and bring the other one close. But if Crit just spreads out their blues, mstain doesn't have a way to build more blue in Crit's home. No green ships anywhere to sacrifice, so that blue is probably just barely safe. All right, advancing the blue. Now Crit is not safe keeping a blue at home. Oh, sacrificing Y2. What does that do? Oh, invading that colony with the R3. That's interesting. I think mstain, though, can just build their way to too much of a threat. If Crit commits to this and mstain just builds a little red ship, Crit captures the medium, mstain builds another red, Crit's lost their large ship, and they sacrificed a Y2 to get it there. I don't think that's a good investment. I think Crit should take it back. They do. Sacrifice Y2. Same thing, and they commit to it this time. Okay, let's see if mstain builds. No, they sacrifice to evacuate. Huh, bringing one of the blues home? I think mstain should seriously have considered knocking out Crit's blue star. Because mstain has quite a bit of yellow even after sacrificing a Y3. They've got enough that they could knock out the yellow star in fairly short order, I think. Huh, okay. So that invasion cost Crit a medium yellow to get there, but then mstain spent a medium yellow to get out of there, and now Crit's going to get to capture a red. Yeah, okay. My guess now is that mstain doesn't mind bringing this B1 home because they intend to knock out Crit's yellow star first, which will connect the Homeworlds, and this B1 will be able to move right into Crit's home. Okay, so mstain, yeah, they need more yellow to make this happen. And Crit just spent all the yellow they had, unfortunately. I think maybe Crit should sacrifice the B1 to trade this guy for yellow. Or for blue. That's not going to work. You absolutely have to have yellow to win this game. You cannot win without yellow. Yeah, Crit needs to take that back. Trade it for a Y2. Yes. I think that's much better. All right, Crit still has a ghost of a chance. Well, ghost of a chance. Um, yep, just the ghost. I don't think they can make anything happen anymore. I think mstain just finished their Doomsday Machine. If they sacrifice the Y3 here, they can bring in these 3 yellows to knock out Crit's yellow star, after which they, no matter what Crit does, they can sacrifice the mothership to move in the 3 blues for the win. But I think Crit made a really good show of it. Let's see if mstain knows that they're all the way there. Okay. Yeah, they took out the yellow star, and Crit builds a green, and mstain finishes it off in the expected fashion. Okay, well, I'm really impressed with how close Crit managed to make that they got themselves fairly well established again. Just they didn't have enough material to stop mstain's Doomsday Machine build-up. Thanks to both of you guys for playing a great game that we could watch, and thanks to all of my viewers for watching this game. If you have a game that you think that I ought to review, you can fill out the form. There's a link in the video description, and I will probably review it, because my picking games at random is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes I pick a great one like this, and sometimes I pick one that's maybe a little less exciting, but we try to learn from everything. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.